The Switch version of Battle Kid Fortress Apparel featured in today's review was provided courtesy of 8-Bit Legit. In 2010, Savant Games released Battle Kid Fortress Apparel for the Nintendo Entertainment System. With the NES Homebrew scene still in its infancy, Battle Kid was a standout title and even saw release on a physical cartridge. The brutal difficulty in platforming made the game one of the hardest to grace the NES platform. Fast forward 13 years and Battle Kid Fortress Apparel has found a new home on the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch thanks to publisher 8-Bit Legit. These new versions of the game bring the full NES experience to modern platforms, and it is just as brutal as ever. One of the best aspects of Battle Kid is its inclusion of a full-on story contained within its platforming gameplay. Players assume the role of Timmy, a combat student at the Dish Research Facility, as he embarks on a journey to confront his former schoolmate Chester, who has stolen tech to build a super mech. Equipped with the new battlesuit, Timmy must brave the Fortress Apparel to stop this evil scheme. For players less interested in the overall plot, there is a handy arcade setting that will bypass all of the game's story elements entirely. Fans of classic Mega Man and Metroid will feel right at home with Battle Kid Fortress Apparel. Running, jumping, and shooting feel natural, and the brutal difficulty has you quickly learn and recognize enemy patterns. While the opening areas of the game start out linear, as it progresses the Metroidvania style comes out in full force with new abilities and keys needed to advance. The lack of an in-game map makes the unlockable coordinate system invaluable. This build-up is a natural one and complementary to the game's learning curve. You will quickly find jumping over long gaps being pushed by a fan second nature, even if you die to them more than actual enemies. With roughly 550, there is no shortage of rooms to discover and overcome. Again, the game can be a brutal experience with its one-hit kill mechanic and taunting death counter. For more casual players, the experience can still be an enjoyable one, however. 6 selectable difficulties are available to better tune the experience to a player's skill level. While the hard difficulty and its one-hit kill and unlimited continues is probably the most authentic way to play, there's no shame in giving yourself an actual life bar and reducing the enemy's health by a bit. Though, if you really want to prove yourself, the unfair difficulty is available with one-hit health and no continues. And of course, what is this style of game without boss fights? These big baddies all have a unique feel within the game world, and defeating them is a blast. On those numerous occasions where you mess up and die to an enemy, fall in a pit, or miss that next invisible block jump, the game will revert you back to your last visited checkpoint room to try again. These rooms never feel too far away from your next goal or boss fight, which is a plus, as long backtracking has never been too enjoyable. Unfortunately, this new release of Battle Kid Fortress Apparel is still relying on the password system found in the NES release, making the experience a bit less seamless when resuming play. Each checkpoint room will spit out a password when visited, so be sure to either write them down or use the Switch and Xbox screenshot feature to capture them. As with past 8-Bit Legit releases, the original presentation of the game is intact for its release on modern platforms. 8-bit graphics serve the gameplay well, and the cutscene graphics look superb. Borders can be added to the scene to fill in black bars of the presentation if desired. Since this is an NES game, sprite flickering will occur during screens with tons of enemies and effects, which is again authentic to real hardware. One thing to note for anyone particular about aspect ratios, the game uses a pixel-perfect aspect ratio of 8:7 compared to the typical stretch 4:3 you would see output by the NES console on a CRT TV. Not a big deal, but there are no options to change it. The audio presentation likewise is a match for that found on real hardware. The music serves each gameplay area well and is enjoyable. Thankfully, they never get repetitive, which can be the case with some NES Homebrew releases. The accompanying sound effects further punctuate the action. There really aren't many things to critique with Battle Kid Fortress Apparel. The game runs great on modern platforms, and the NES aesthetic being completely intact is always a joy. The presentation being stretched to 4:3 would be a cool display option, but doesn't ruin the experience. The brutal difficulty is part of its advertised charm, but with selectable difficulty options, even that can be reduced for a more casual experience. Even the lack of a map, which can make progression harder at times, is just part of the retro difficulty. The only real complaint to be had with this release is its continued reliance on the password system. For the $10 asking price, Battle Kid Fortress Apparel gives players an excellent adventure that feels right at home on modern systems just as much as it did on the NES. Tight gameplay as well as 8-bit graphics and sound set a solid foundation for the difficult journey ahead. While constantly dying to enemies or the environment may seem like a turnoff at first, the adjustable difficulties should cater well to players of every skill level. The time I've spent with Battle Kid Fortress Apparel is easily in my top 5 of the year for indie releases, and I can't recommend it enough. Battle Kid Fortress Apparel, a wonderful NES game that I can wholeheartedly recommend to any fans of platformers and Metroidvania genre. Again, if you like that classic Metroid Mega Man game, this one is going to be right up your alley. It can be difficult. You can scale the difficulty to better suit your play styles. And honestly, the brutality of the difficulty level is something that gave me a bit of a pause at first, but seeing the selectable difficulties made me more willing to jump in. Played it on numerous difficulties here just to get a feel for it, and again, I've just been having a blast with it. Managed to complete it on very easy so far. Still trying to do the hard mode here, the standard mode as I like to call it, but it's been a real fun journey getting through Battle Kid Fortress Apparel. So it is available on itch.io, Xbox Series XS, Xbox One, and now Nintendo Switch as well. $10. Very good price for what this game has to offer, and again, definitely worth checking out. Thank you again to 8-Bit Legit for sending me out a review copy. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for watching today's review. But we're going to go ahead and call it here. So big favors to ask here at the end. If you haven't already, thumbs up, thumbs down button, depending on how much you like this review, as well as that sub button notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads of content always coming your way, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. But for anyone interested in further helping support the channel and keep it going, be sure to check out that join button just here on YouTube or the Patreon link that'll appear somewhere over here-ish. But big shout out to all of our current backers. Thank you so much for believing what we do here and helping us keep it going. You are the truest champions, and we couldn't do it without you. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.